Hello, everyone, and welcome to your first lesson in C++ with me. I'll first start off with giving you a quick overview of how this course will work. So it will be divided into 8 chapters, starting with Chapter 1, which is Hello World, and Chapter 2, Objects, Types, and Values. Chapter 3 will cover computation. Chapter 4 will go over some errors. Chapter 5 we're going to start writing a program, but in essence we'll be writing a program in the other chapters. Chapter 6 will be completing the program. Chapter 7 will be function. Chapter 8 will be classes, and that will be it for part 1. By the time you're finished with this part, you should have a solid base with C++, which is right over here. Part 2 will be input and output. Part 3 will be data and algorithms. We will be using C++11 and C++14. And this will take you can start with an absolute beginner, ending up with an expert in C++. All the lectures, or most of them, along with the explanations or images, are from the book Programming Principles and Practice Using C++. And I will be covering the most parts in the book. So I will be using Xcode, which is the Mac default. You could use Visual Studio or you could use Code Blocker. It is the same thing actually, but the way that you initiate a program will be a little bit different, and there will be minor differences in the code. But we can quickly start off with chapter 1. I give all the credits and text and images to Bjarne Stroustrup, which is actually the creator of C++. So basically, I'll be following his steps to make C++ clearer for you guys. So let's start with a very basic definition: is what is a program? For people who coded before, this might be a little bit slow to start off with, but we will catch up really fast. But I just need to take the people with no background whatsoever in programming and put them on the same page as everyone else, and then we can take off from there. So, what is a program? Basically, to get a computer to do something, you have to tell it exactly in detail what to do, and such description of what to do is called a program. And programming is the activity of writing and testing such programs. Computers are really dumb, and you actually have to specify everything it wants to do. So that's basically a definition of a program. Now let's go ahead and start with writing off a simple program, which is the Hello World, which everyone probably heard of. Let's quickly go to Xcode, and this is the updated one, November 2nd, 2016, and we can get started. And this is the first thing you see over here. What I'll usually do is I'm gonna go directly to File, New, Project, and then you're gonna start up with this screen. You can directly Mac OS, Command Line Tool, Next, and then you start off with the project name, and then you can call your project. Let's say this will be Chapter 1, Hello World, and then you can just keep the other details. Make sure that you choose C++ for your language. Next, they'll probably ask for the location, yes, and I create a new folder on my desktop and I simply called it Chapter 1. So you can go ahead, Chapter 1, create. And then you come up with this page right here, and then main.cpp. This is where all the magic happens. This is where all the code they should type work here. The thing with Xcode is that they have they start with the Hello World software, and while in Visual Studio or in Code Blocker, you will usually start with a blank page with nothing on. So if you wanna clearly, if all of us could start on the same page on Visual Studio, sorry, and Code Blocker, you won't have this, so you can quickly go ahead and delete this, and you would have this that way, and insert your code here. You can take this off quickly, and then we can delete all of that. so that if you guys working on Windows will have the same thing. So if we go ahead and we started running this, which is the button over here, we'll get build succeed, and then we're gonna see over here hello world, which is what we typed in here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start explaining what is this code doing, why do we have hello world, and how do we change this. Basically, think of this text as a set of instructions that we give to the computer to execute. Think of it like a recipe to cook or a list of assembly instruction for us to follow to get a new toy working. So I will go ahead and explain line by line. The cout here, that's the line that actually produces the output. Cout is a short form of character output screen. So if we just quickly see that C is character and out is output stream. So that will be the character output stream. And the quotes is the part that we want it printed out over here. So basically, if we go in here and just say, hi, I am Tom, and go ahead and run that, we get, hi, I am Tom. So anything that's between these two quotation points will actually you'll actually have it in your output. Now in Visual Studio, just if you click Control F5, you will actually have the same thing, but you'll have a command prompt popping out there. Yeah, so this is I'm Tom. If you're wondering what's that /n and why that /n is not appearing here, it's because it's called a special character in C++, and we're going to talk about it more later, and it basically indicates a new line. So it just, instead of having it next to each other, then this basically will ask the cursor, okay cursor, this is the end, go ahead and jump to the next line, and return 0 basically exits the program. Now you don't have to worry about such details because we're going to cover it later in the chapter, but I just wanted you to have an overall of this code. The two slashes, which were in the beginning, is a comment, and basically these comments are not read by the computer. So if we just go ahead and put this is a comment, cout means character outstream, we go ahead and we play that or run that, we're going to see that it will not appear in our output. It will just stay in I am Tom, and it would. This is a comment for you, and if you're wondering why is this necessary or why is this important, it's because comments are written to describe what the program is intended to do, and in general to provide information useful for humans that can't be directly expressed in code. The person most likely to benefit from the comments in your code is you. So when you come back to that code next week or next year and have forgotten what this does, then this comment will actually remind you what it is. Now this is a very simple code, so you wouldn't actually need to put any comments here, but when your code gets bigger in the future, you would actually need a lot of comments. Now let's start, or let's go back and look at what's happening up here. Why is this a hashtag include IO stream, which basically means input output stream? The hashtag is called a directive, which is this part right here, and that part right here is called the library. I'll explain more of that in the next few slides. And basically these directives instructs the computer to make available the facilities that are in iOS stream. And iOS stream is a library that's already been prepared. So this includes all the definitions, which is basically the cout and the crocodile sign over here greater than, which is the output operator. So if you want, if we're gonna go ahead and delete this, instead of deleting, you can just simply put the two. So you can comment this and you go ahead and run that. You're gonna see that you're gonna get an error, which is the use of this. The computer doesn't understand what is this. So if we just simply put that back, and we're gonna come up these. There are different types of errors, and we'll cover more of that in the next slides. You will see that now it starts working. So if we just go ahead and delete the std and simply add up here using namespace std, just for now, I'll explain that later, and we go ahead and start it, you get build succeed, and you're going to get hi, I am Tom. So the code is now more clearer, and it's consistent for people using Windows or Linux or whatever operating system they like to use or whatever software they're using. And yeah, so this is basically the hello world, or hi, I am Tom, and this is the code. If you have any questions, please like write a comment, email me, text me, anything. I'll be more than happy to explain um, what is this about. Now let's continue with our presentation. So this is basically the classic program. Quick overview. This is the directive, the name of the library. Visual Studio will use this. Xcode will use iOS Stream, but Visual Studio also uses iOS Stream. But don't worry about these details now. I'm just touching base with a simple program. And the best thing is to start with a program, so you guys can know what C++ is. Now let's jump to compilation. And what is compilation? C++ is a compiled language, which means that to get a program to run, you must first translate it from a human-readable form to something a machine can understand. That translation is done by a program called the compiler, which is Xcode, Visual Studio, Code Blocker. And what you read and write is called the source code, which is what we just written now. And what the computer does is called executing, or executing the code. Typically, the C++ code files are in a suffix called the .c++, which is right here. So this is the suffix extension. So that'll be like JPEG for images, MP3 for uh, music videos, audio videos, and there are header files .h. Don't worry about them now. We'll come to them later too. And on Windows, it might be .obg, and for Unix, it might be .o for Linux users. So there we might be different extensions, different files, but don't worry, it's the same coding language and it's the same code, but it's just every program has a little different start. So basically, this is the compilation. Linking. So I'm just going to cover a few definitions. I'm a little bit going over theory now, but as we later progress, there'll be more codes. So what is linking? Basically, a program usually consists of several parts, as we can look into here, and often developed by different people. So the directive that we included was developed by the Xcode people. For example, I'm not sure who developed it, but that library was developed by them. So we have a standard library by the C++, which is the directive we use, and these different parts over here are called translation units, and they must be compiled all together to get the code that we want. And this is actually linker, or linking is basically linking the code you've written with libraries included in C++ and putting them together. Errors. There are a few errors, or different types of errors, that we should know about. It's the compile time errors, link time errors, runtime errors, or linked runtime errors are also known as logic errors, and we'll look into more detail into them in chapter 4. And a library is a library. Basically, a library in C++ is a code which is usually written by others. In our case, it is the hashtag directive. And a declaration is a program statement specifying how a piece of code can be used. We'll also cover that in more details in our next lectures. So let's do a quick cap over this, and we can see we have programming environments. I've mentioned these already many times before. And yeah, that's for your Hello World code. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Thank you.